So far away, Nisha, what's your favourite Wallace and Gromit short?
I have to say Grande Out because I'm obsessed with cheese and I can relate to Wallace.
Everyone I know just loves cheese so much. It's so good. Wallace and Gromit is a British institution and it's widely considered one of the country's finest cultural exports, to the point where Wallace and Gromit are considered better cultural ambassadors for Great Britain than actual people paid to do that job. With that in mind, consider for a moment that the creators of the franchise had to argue with Dreamworks Animation over the fact they were apparently making Wallace and Gromit too British.
Okay, Karl, so there might be some people out there who don't know who Wallace and Gromit are.
Yeah, and for those people, go watch Wallace and Gromit. It's great. It's so charming, so endearing. It's like entirely done with claymation, with the sole exception of a couple of scenes in the movie we're going to discuss. And more than anything, it's just fun. It's so fun to watch. Like, I recently watched all of the shorts and Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and it's so nice to just sit down with a nice cup of tea. I know this is coffee, but I'm making a point here. And just watch some Wallace and Gromit.
Oh yeah, it's so good. It's just charming and funny. And just
Yeah,
quotable.
So quotable and so quintessentially British. And something that like passed over me as a kid, because I remember watching all the shorts as a kid, and now I've grown up and I'm an adult. So it's been like a good 15 years since I actually sat down and watched Wallace and Gromit. Like, I watched it and went, oh shit, I forgot. It's all set in Yorkshire. Gromit and Wallace, like they're Yorkshire. It's like, yes, it's so cool. I was watching A Matter of Loaf and Death, and there's just a joke in that put me on my arse, and it's where Gromit has the bomb. Like, Gromit's there, he's got the bomb, and he's like, oh no, where do I throw the bomb? He goes and he looks out one window and some ducks, and he's like, oh. With the other window, and it's nuns with kittens. He's like, oh. Comedy, rule of threes, the third and final window, it's the border of Yorkshire, and just says, do not come here, because it's like, do not leave Yorkshire. Nothing could exist outside this boundary. And he's seeing his eyes like, I'll throw the bomb over there. And as you mentioned, Wallace and Gromit is very quotable, but something that struck me watching all of the shorts and the film is how much of the humour is completely non-verbal and is gotten across through expression and body language, which is incredible for something that is realised using claymation. Like, almost every single scene featuring Feathers McGraw, the bank robbing penguin, had me on my arse, and there is no dialogue in any of those scenes. It's just a penguin walking and looking through a door, and it's so good.
Gromit doesn't speak either, so it's like when him and Feathers McGraw are like up against each other, it's just facial expressions.
Every single one of them is incredible. Like, just the sound design as well. Like, the pitter-patter of Feathers McGraw's feet. Just a little when you hear him walking in and out of a room is fucking on point. But to bring it back to the topic at hand, Wallace and Gromit at its core follows the misadventures of an eccentric, bumbling inventor and his beloved pet dog. And in specific regards to Gromit, I'd argue he might be the best fictional dog. And I don't mean that he's like the goodest boy, I mean that he is the best. If there was a Kumite of all the fictional dogs, Gromit would win hands down. Because watching all the shorts like in a row in a huge binge session, you realise just how incredibly overpowered Gromit is. Like, in every other scene, he is reading another book teaching him some skill. Like, dog electronics is like his favourite one, and they keep showing him reading that. And he helps Wallace invent all of his inventions and knows how to work them flawlessly.
He's so smart. And the amount of times he saves Wallace from so much danger he puts himself in. Like, if he wasn't there, Wallace would not be around.
Like, Gromit is so fucking smart. Like, Littlest Hobo can eat shit. Gromit all day. Gromit would have him, and then some. And you know what? That's a conversation saved for the end of the video. For now, let's talk about Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Alright, so why are we talking about Curse of the Were-Rabbit?
Because that is one of the films that Aardman Animation, the people who make Wallace and Gromit, were tasked with creating by Dreamworks Animation as part of a landmark 5-movie deal signed between the two studios. And that eventually fell through for reasons we'll get to in a moment. And Curse of the Were-Rabbit was the second collaboration between the studios after Chicken Run, with the third and final one being flushed away, if you remember that, Nisha.
I watched that film once, and I can't really remember it very well, but Chicken Run was one of my favourites.
Yeah, I think everyone watched Flushed Away once, and again, we'll get into the reasons why like that deal fell apart, but the poor performance of Flushed Away was reported on them. But Curse of the Were-Rabbit was the second collaboration between Aardman Animation and Dreamworks Animation, and I said it was a landmark deal, and I mean that in the sense that Aardman Animation were able to retain the rights to Wallace and Gromit, which was important because Dreamworks Animation seemingly wanted to ruin everything that makes Wallace and Gromit great, including the fact that it's British.
Okay, so what do you mean by that?
Wallace and Gromit is so British. Like, the Britishness is part of the appeal, it's part of the draw, it's part of the charm of Wallace and Gromit, and Dreamworks Animation apparently had no idea about this, because one of the first things they asked Aardman Animation to do when they started work on Curse of the Were-Rabbit was only hire American actors to voice all the characters in it. Which doesn't really make sense. You consider Wallace and Gromit is set in like an unnamed northern town in England.
Well, maybe that could work if they were like voicing outside characters and not the main characters.
Yeah, maybe that could work. I say maybe a news crew comes in to investigate like the happenings of the film, but no, DreamWorks Animation didn't want that. They wanted them to recast every character in the film, including Wallace. The main character, Wallace. They wanted to replace the voice actor for Wallace, a guy who voiced the character until he died at the age of 96. And as a British institution, they wanted Aardman Animation to tell him to fuck off and get someone else in to do the voice.
Oh no, I love Peter Sallis. I remember seeing him in Last of the Summer Wine, and I heard his voice and I was like, that's Wallace.
That's Wallace,
That's Wallace's voice. So he is Wallace.
And the weird part is as well, that wasn't his natural speaking voice.
Was it not?
I believe he was like born in London and he put on a northern accent to play Wallace and the character who did in Last of the Summer Wine. He was just that good an actor. But for Americans watching, they might think, well, yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. Like, imagine for a moment if like they tried to recast Homer Simpson. Why the fuck would you change Wallace's voice? It's fucking perfect. It's so good. Can you even imagine an American saying more cheese Gromit?
No.
That's it, cheese. We'll go somewhere where there's cheese.
I forgot as well, speaking of voices, like how many like famous people are in Curse of the Were-Rabbit. There's Peter Kay, who voices the policeman.
And that's one of the compromises that Aardman Animation made. They said, look, we're not going to replace fucking Wallace, you can do one on that. But how about we compromise, and to help you sell the film in America, we hire some big name British actors to play side characters, which is why Helena Bonham Carter and Ralph Fiennes are the secondary characters in that film. And then Peter Kay's in it, but I don't think he's as well known in America. But when I heard that policeman, that's fucking Peter Kay. Peter Kay right there, yeah.
He's got such a good line as well.
What is it? I can't remember what his distinctive line is.
Something like, if you ask me, this was arson. And everyone's like, and he goes, aye, somebody arson around.
Such a Peter Kay line.
If you ask me, this was arson. Arson? Aye, someone arsing around.
That brings us into the next thing. Peter Kay speaks with a very broad northern accent, and DreamWorks Animation, after they failed to get all the actors in the film replaced with American ones, started bitching that all of the accents in the film were too broad, and they asked Aardman Animation to tone them down, which resulted in Aardman Animation having to go to voice actors, some of whom were speaking in their natural speaking voice, to tone down their accent. And I can't imagine that Peter Kay was all too happy about that, considering how proudly northern he is. And I can speak to this because I deliberately suppress my natural northern accent in these videos because I know that Americans wouldn't understand a goddamn word I'm saying. And I believe internally at Aardman Animation they were all really annoyed about this because they were essentially being told to tone down the thing that made Wallace and Gromit so iconic, like the Britishness of it. And it's one of the reasons that after the deal with DreamWorks fell through, and the people at the studio were like, fucking sick, we're going to go make Loaf and Death now and just double down on all the accents. We don't have to run every northern saying past some idiot in America to see if they'd understand it. Speaking of which, let's talk about Marrows.
Okay, so what's this about Marrows?
Well, Nisha, do you loosely recall the plot of Curse of the Were-Rabbit?
Yeah, I know it's like a town who's obsessed with this vegetable competition and they have to like grow the best and biggest vegetables.
Yes, they're growing big vegetables, including the titular Gromit, who's growing a prize-winning marrow, his marrow that he likes. And for Americans watching this, because while researching an article I found out that Americans apparently don't know what marrows are, it's a squash, essentially. It's a big-ass squash, especially big in this case. It's a prize-winning one. Nick Park, the original creator of Wallace and Gromit, got really, really pissed off with DreamWorks Animation and all of these like really stupid petty demands they were making, and he drew a metaphorical line in the sand over the word marrow. Because the word marrow is uttered several times throughout the film, and he got a genuine request from DreamWorks Animation. Can you change the word marrow? Americans don't know what marrows are, and he was so annoyed at the pettiness of that request. He's like, nah. And this was apparently an ongoing argument for weeks. And in Park's defense, there was a genuine logistical reason why they couldn't change that line. And that's because the film was made using claymation, which meant to change the line, they'd have to go back in and change the shape of Wallace's mouth for that particular take, which could take anywhere upwards of several days per line they had to change.
Any stop motion films, any claymation takes forever to produce.
Yes, and there is behind the scenes footage of how they made Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and it is incredible because they get 2 seconds of usable footage per day, if that.
Oh god, that's insane.
To be told you need to spend even more time changing this line because people don't know what a fucking marrow is. And as I said, DreamWorks would not let this issue go, and Park got really, really mad about it. And eventually he's like, okay, fine, we'll change it to the word melon. So in the American release of Curse of the Were-Rabbit, they refer to Gromit's marrow as a melon. However, in a seeming act of defiance, it appears that all of the voice actors asked to say the word marrow were asked to say so in a very incredulous tone of voice. So hopefully the editor now will be able to track down the American version. Because
Gromit, lad, how is that prize melon of yours coming on? Must be a while since you measured it.
all of this, understandably, folks at home, soured the relationship between Aardman Animation and DreamWorks Animations, and the subsequent just non-success of Flushed Away resulted in DreamWorks Animation just dissolving the deal, which Aardman Animation were reportedly elated about because it meant they no longer had to have conversations like that. And the first thing they did is went and just made A Matter of Loaf and Death, which doubled down on everything that made Wallace and Gromit great. So far away, Nisha, I mentioned earlier in this video that Gromit might be the best fictional dog. And I think Gromit could kick the arse of any other fictional dog from television or movies. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a poster for the ultimate fictional dog Kumite with Gromit taking on all comers at the top. And Nisha, what fictional dogs can we throw onto this poster as potential challengers for Gromit?
Definitely Scooby-Doo has got to be on there.
Scooby-Doo, yeah. Scooby-Doo's good. He's resourceful, but he's a bit of a coward. That's the thing. Scooby-Doo has got some good feats to his name, but whenever danger arises, he runs away. The same cannot be said of Gromit, who charges headlong into danger. Scooby-Doo might put up a good fight, but I don't think, when the chips are down, he's going to stand up and face off with Gromit. But my choice, I'm going to have Beethoven on there.
Oh, yeah.
We know that Beethoven is big. Beethoven's got the weight. He's a hefty, chonky boy. So maybe we get a good fight out even then. Gromit, man. He beat a robot dog. Any more fictional dogs we can put onto his post? Gromit's taking them all.
Well, another dog I can think of, I don't know him very well, but I just know he exists, is Gnasher from Dennis the Menace.
Gnasher. Yeah, Dennis the Menace. Do you know what? He'd be a dirty fighter. That would be a really dirty match. Because Gnasher, man, he'd probably go for the balls or something. But yeah, Gnasher's pretty cool. I can see Gnasher putting up an alright fight, but Gromit, he's too honourable. So he'd probably get hit by the dirty tactics once or twice, but then he'd be like, no, fuck you. I've turned, just a random object into a plane, and I'm going to fire porridge at you. And he'd do that. Speaking of planes, what about Snoopy? Oh, Snoopy's got a plane, so we could have an aerial battle. And you know what? Just because I want to see it, Clifford.
Clifford?
I want to see the dog version of David and Goliath, and I know with Gromit's book Smarts, you could probably figure out a way to take out Clifford. Was it your next pick, Nisha?
I was going to say Muttley.
Another dirty fighter as well, yeah. I feel, though, that Muttley would be more like he'd taunt. He's like a heel wrestler who's not actually good at fighting, but he taunts to piss you off.
Yeah, just laughs at you.
Yeah, he'd laugh at you. And speaking of which, you know what? Fuck, you put the dog from Duck Hunt Duo on there. Or Duck Hunt on there, the Duck Hunt Duo. Dirty fighter tag team match right there. Because he fights with the duck. Like, he hits you with the duck combos, man. I'm not sure what Gromit could do against that beak priority, but he'd probably give it a good go. Nisha, any final ones? Any final dogs? How about a real dog? Like a real dog from a film, like Beethoven looking pretty lonely on that poster.
Lassie?
Yeah, Lassie is though. That's the thing. Lassie just has so much luck on its side. It's like the most blessed dog ever, where it's just everything goes right. And in that vein as well, fuck it, put Littlest Hobo on there, which might be up there as one of the most talented dogs, because Littlest Hobo solves so many problems. I'm pretty sure if you go into like the deep, deep, dark lore of Littlest Hobo, it's the first dog to do a halo jump. It's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, you know what? There it is. The ultimate fictional dog Kumite. Gromit's coming out on top, but what a battle it'd be.